Hey everyone, Eric here. Thanks for tuning in. Today, I had the pleasure of bringing back Chris Cabahug. Remember, he's the guy that was breeding tarantulas and selling them for profit. Well, this unconventional investor has decided to leave Vegas behind, fully rent out his property, and travel the world. Tune in to learn about the goals he has set for himself, how he was able to finance this trip of a lifetime, and what steps you could take to do the same.
All good,
Yeah,
man. Well, it's
that's
been about a year since the last time that we've had a conversation like this. So, welcome back to the
yeah.
Millionaire Podcast. Great to have you.
It's been a wild ride since then. So yeah,
Yeah, tell me more about it, man. I mean, I remember that we had some pretty solid goals set up for 2021. Why don't you tell me a little bit more about some of the goals that you were able to achieve, maybe the ones that you weren't able to achieve, and why that is?
yeah. So basically, I had three goals for 2022 or 2021, sorry, that were like the most important. The first one was to buy a house, and the second one was to have the majority of my income be online. And then the third one, which was the hardest one, was $250,000 net worth. And so for the first one, house, obviously, I'm sitting in the house, bought the house.
Congrats.
That took significantly longer and more energy than I had anticipated. The second one, have the majority of my income be online. Through a technicality, I actually did hit that goal because do you remember how when we had this conversation last year, I was still working at that property management company?
Right. Yeah. I mean, that was back when you were in LA, right?
Yeah, so I like quit that job, right? So then like technically after I quit that job, the only income I had was stocks, which is technically online. And although I started like this, me and Paulo started this online business, technically it does actually generate revenue. And because I have no other income other than stocks that's also online, through a technicality, all my income is online. So technically I
True.
did hit that. So two for three. In terms of 250K net worth, I think I'll end the year. It depends because the stocks jump up and down, and stocks are like still a large part of it.
Mhm.
But the house honestly carried my net worth significantly this
Yeah,
year.
I can imagine.
I never would have in a million years ever guessed. I think I'll end the year on the low, maybe like 170, but on the high, probably because it inched like close to 200.
Okay.
So 172 to 200. I reshuffled some stock positions, and there is a shot. It's a long shot, but there is a slight shot that we could hit at least above 200, maybe like 210 or something like that.
Okay. So, how did you exactly come up with those goals, though? Like, is that something like what was your methodology for that exactly?
So the house, honestly, I bought the house because I think when we had our conversation, we talked about the stock market and how it basically went on the ride of a lifetime, and it was already like near all-time highs, and the upside wasn't super high, so wanted to take profits and then lock it into a house, which I did. But then I was super surprised with the fact that the houses then they started to take off, right?
Mhm.
Because like I think in 2020 they didn't really take off that much, right? The housing prices. And then it wasn't until 2021 where they really, I feel like, started to shoot through the fucking ceiling and start going
Sure.
like literally this house appreciated at one point like more than my portfolio. It happened like at just the right time too. Like the timing was perfect. Like get in 2020, like secure a bag in stocks, and then like realize profits, and then secure a light bag in real estate. Yeah, so basically the way I came up with the goals was I was like, okay, what do I want my life to look like? And I was like, I want like full financial freedom, full time freedom, and full location freedom. And so like the 250K net worth obviously plays into financial freedom, and then so does the house, and then the income online plays into the location freedom and time freedom.
Sure.
Because although like being an entrepreneur is like, whoa, you get to pick your own hours. It's like a lot of hours. Like there was this meme that was like, you didn't want a 9 to 5, and now you have a 24/7.
Exactly.
So yeah,
Exactly.
that's how I picked the goal, and um, had location freedom, but 2022 will be the first year of real full location freedom. So that'll be crazy.
Yeah, and that's something that I definitely wanted to dive into as a follow-up. But before we get into some of your travel plans for the following year, 'cause that's actually something I'm really interested in learning more about. I wanted to know how you're going to be formulating your future goals, like for 2022, and maybe some of those goals, if you don't mind listing them out for me.
So for 2022, I think my goal is still going to be like probably I've been thinking about it probably like 4 to 500, which is also a double.
Hmm.
But I think there's actually a shot. I'll say this because when I came into 2021, I was looking at my previous job and I was like, there's no way. Like there's just no way like this will help like with that. And so like, there's a concept of like financial vehicles. So I feel like at the end of 2020 and like started 2021, I was like, okay, this financial vehicle that I'm in, like this career path, like this is definitely not it. Especially because I already knew how much my bosses were making. I was like, I made more than that in 2020, so it's like not really
Right.
motivating. So I was like, okay, like I need to build a new vehicle. So
Mhm.
2021 was really just like the building of a new vehicle, which building takes a long time, longer than expected, more capital, more effort. Uh, and yeah, so wait, what was the question again?
As in, like,
Is it,
what are some of the other goals and aspirations that you have for 2022 aside from just your net worth? I know that travel is going to be a big one as well, but what else have you formulated for yourself?
oh yeah, aside from travel, it's get back to six figures on active income. Because I think this year I think I actually did almost hit six figures again, but through just like stocks in the house, literally the universe just came in clutch. The
Yep.
markets went up, and then so I went with it. But like that was dead ass. That was just like luck. That was just like the will of the markets. But like I want to get back to like active income producing at least as relatively as much as the investments or more. So
Mhm.
that's really where the online business will come to play. So basically, just travel, or my goals are like be like full location freedom, which is basically there, and then actually have solid income online. So back to six figures, but like
Sure.
online.
So, I mean, it must have been a pretty big jump for you to leave your job, get a property without a full, like an income or any income for that matter, and then starting a business from scratch online. What was that experience like for you? And like, where do you see yourself going with that just moving forward?
I'm not gonna lie, yeah, it was pretty wild. I feel like 2020 felt like a all or nothing gambit. And then
Okay.
2021 felt like another all or nothing gambit. But so far, I think both have 2020 paid off, obviously, and then 2021 is starting to pay off. Like I said, the business is actually generating revenue, but it's not generating enough revenue to obviously break even.
Mhm.
So there's that. But like the fact that it's generating revenue is like, okay, so you're making some money, which means that you can make more. Like, made a, and yeah, no, it was just really wild, but it was the only way, I think. And in the beginning, we like looked at all the possible methods to make money online, and
Mhm.
then like we had like those little like tables where like you put one against the other, and then the next one it, like moves on to the next round, and then you compare the other like set, and then one moves on to the next round, and at the end we had the business model that we thought was the most efficient and like worked with what we wanted.
Mhm.
So yeah,
Oh,
that's really
I
kind of
know that you've been relatively hesitant to elaborate on the actual business, but like, what can you tell me about what it is that you're like, what services that you are providing, and like how exactly are you making money? And feel free to elaborate on what you can say.
okay. So let's see. So I'll say this, it's an online business, and it's kind of, I guess you could say it's kind of service and products, or or services and goods, kind of.
Mhm.
Yeah. But I can tell you how much money it's generated and how much money it's lost, if
Sure.
that's interesting.
Yeah,
So
why not?
so to date, I think the business has made last time I checked like $1,200,
Okay.
and probably spent about been like 2 times 5. So probably like 10 to 12,000
Okay.
to generate around 1,200, but it's been upward trending. The
Sure.
first 3 months there was $0 of revenue. Actually,
Mhm.
first 4 months $0 of revenue probably. It was only in the last month or two that it really started to generate some revenue.
Nice.
So
So, I
Yeah.
mean, at least as long as there's an upward trend, I mean, I'm no CPA, but we would definitely be able to write off those losses as startup costs, for your business. So, no, that's
Mhm.
great, man. I mean, again, you've always been somebody that strikes me as someone who does things not by the books, very unconventional way of investing for sure. And I think that that's only further validated by the fact that you're going to be leaving Vegas next year for a pretty significant amount of time. So why don't you talk me through or walk me through what that's going to look like and how you're going to make that possible financially?
Yeah. So to gonna leave Vegas, I think end of January and won't come back till December. So it
The
started
whole
off
year.
the yeah,
12
the
months.
whole year. It was supposed to be 6 months, but then like, we have to align it with like the terms of the lease. So it was like, like if we do 6 months, then it has to be like a 6 months lease once we lease out the house. Or
Mhm.
we could do a year, like closer to a year, but we'd really have to be like out for a year because it's like usually 6 months or a year is like the average. And we want to kind of stick with that. So yeah, we decided on like closer to a year, but yeah, financially how it'll work is it's actually very, very interesting. Like Paulo were talking about it, like the best decisions that we ever made, I think in 2021, one of the best decisions that we made was actually buying this house because it like cash flows so ridiculously that it is like compared to California, I think it's insane how much it cash flows. Like it cash flows as much as in theory at least like a couple rental properties in California.
Sure.
So financially, this is the thing that is the most interesting to me is like I realized like through like looking through how we would do the trip and then just looking at the numbers and then talking to friends who had done something like kind of similar is that it's actually cheaper to live like abroad, like to travel.
Sure.
So like how I got around the flights is you and me already know this. I got the so instead of paying like I calculated the flights would have been like $5,000 to $7,000 for the year or something like that.
Mhm.
Because most like getting over there is the hard part. And then once you're over there, they're like relatively close to each other.
And
So
when you say over there, what exactly do you mean by over there?
like Europe, Asia area.
Where are you
Yeah.
starting out though?
Gonna start out in Amalfi, Italy, Amalfi Coast in Italy.
Sweet.
So gonna be there for a month, dude. The view, oh my god! I was
Yep.
like, I saw it, I was like, take my money, and I was like, if this is cheaper than my mortgage, I'm like, dude, take my money. So financially, honestly, our budget is actually quite cheap. So like, I think we're gonna be spending on like housing like around 1,800 a month on average, but then like some months it's like maybe like 6 to 800, so it's like significantly cheaper. So basically how it works financially is I think on this house the mortgage is about 2,200 and basically through doing the math and like checking comps in the area, I think we'll be able to rent it out for about 3 to 4,000, fully maximize renting out every room and then renting out like the storage spaces. Because like we have an RV in our RV parking spot right now that we're renting out to someone, and then the
Well,
garage there's someone's car in there that we're renting it out. So
that's insane. Okay, so your mortgage is you said 2,200.
yep.
Walk me through how you would be able to cash flow, a grand to 2 grand. Like walk me through the specifics of like what you're going to be renting out the rooms for, like the garage space, how you figured that out. Like that's a pretty big ROI for you just not being in the property and having the entire property, fully rented out to the max, it sounds like. So yeah, why don't you tell me a little bit more about that strategy?
Oh yeah, so we went so we went from underutilizing the entire house to like fully maxing it out. So basically I'm in this bedroom right here and this bedroom's like maybe 11 by 11 feet, 11 by 12 feet, something like that. So we're going to rent out these rooms for around 6 to 700 a piece.
Okay.
And so like let's say like we do 600. So 6 times 3, that's 8 1,800 right there. So
Mhm.
that's basically like almost super close to the mortgage because the mortgage is 22. So there's
Right.
400 difference. My room and Paulo's room are absolutely, or at least Paulo's room is absolutely massive. Like you could almost fit a semi truck in there, dude. Like not the ceilings, but like the length. You could almost fit a semi truck in there. So basically, Paulo's room, we're gonna rent that out for like maybe 900 to 1,000, something like that, or maybe On the low, maybe high 800s, because that thing is massive. You have your own bathroom, and then obviously like the laundry machine is like just a walk down the
Yeah,
hall.
yeah, I would
So
rent
if we
that
rent
out
out,
for I would rent that out for closer to 1,000, given Vegas's
yeah,
landscape. Because I have a room right here that's pretty massive as well that I'm renting out for
yeah,
850, but it
oof,
doesn't have its own bathroom.
that's the den, the one above the
Yeah,
den.
yeah. So I would probably rent it out for closer to 1,000, just because if it has its own bathroom, like you're still
Yeah,
you're still cheaper than like 500, $700 cheaper than a single bedroom, like a studio apartment in Las Vegas. So I think that
yeah.
1,000 would probably be a good starting point with everything included, obviously at that point.
That'd be sick with like utilities and all that. Yeah.
Mhm.
So I mean, if we rented out, like, let's say we got Polo's room for 1,000, and then my room, I don't know if we get 1,000 for that. Maybe my room 100 or 900. So let's say like we did that, because my room's pretty big too. Has like a walk-in closet, full bathroom, all that jazz. So maybe
Okay.
like 1,900. So
There you go.
1,900 plus 1,800. That's like
Wait,
37.
so so there's two bedrooms,
Yeah.
yours and Paula's, and then there's three other rooms aside from that. Okay,
Yeah.
so
So
you've got a 5 room property that you're looking to rent out fully, then is what you're saying.
yeah. Yep.
Okay, cool.
So the three rooms would be 1,800 on the low. It could, if we did 700, it would be 2,100, which would almost cover the mortgage in full.
Right.
So we actually made steps to try to get closer to the 700. So we started like buying stuff around the house to make it give it that premium young person on the come up vibe, which we already did a lot of. So
Mhm.
yeah, like 1,800 plus the 1,900, that's like 3,700, I think. And not to mention, now we get into the fun part, which is this place has so much parking. So
Mhm.
basically, we have a 2-car garage. You can fit 3 cars on the driveway, and then you can fit technically another 2 cars, maybe another 3 cars in the RV parking space. And on top of that, there's a curb in front of the house where you can fit another 2 cars. So then we realize, okay, technically we don't need that much parking space for like 5 people.
Mhm.
So what we're gonna do instead is, there's enough parking space on the driveway and the curb to, like, for everyone to have 1 car. So
Okay.
basically, we're renting out the garage separately through this app called Neighbor, which is like Airbnb for storage,
Okay.
and we're also renting out our RV parking space. And the numbers behind that is the parking space for the RV, we're renting that out for about it's 150 for the first month as like a starting offer, and then after that it goes to 300 a month. So we actually have a lady who's renting it right now, so there's a little RV like on the side of our house, and
Nice.
like I was like, I just walked by, I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot that that's there, because like you don't like come into contact with it. So yeah, so that got us like, but she's only here for 2 months, so we will have to replace her before we go. But right now it got us like for 2 months about 450 for that spot. But like, let's say that we get someone long term, that's like 300 a month. And then the garage, I thought we would have been able to do more, but I think we're getting about we have the same offer, so like 150 for the first month and then 300 after. But the person who's renting it right now only needed it for a month, but we still decided to give her the welcome offer of 150 because we have no reviews. So she was our first person that we rented out with.
Okay.
So basically, like, all right, like we'll give you the like, we normally wouldn't do this, but since we have no reviews, do it. But like, and if everything's good, give us a good review. And then on the next one, we have like some credibility.
Sure.
So all in all, if we rented out 300, that's an extra 600 a month from an RV space that is never, I don't even go there. And then the garage, which all we have in the garage is I bought this bike with a basket that I used to bike to the grocery store. And so yeah, I mean, we don't have any cars because we sold them because we didn't need them. So yeah, so if you get like 3,700 and you add 600, what's that, like four something, four, yeah,
43 or so.
yeah, 300. So it's almost 2000, a little 2000 and some change in positive cash flow. Not to
Right.
mention obviously equity
Hmm.
that we get in the house. And then also, like, if 2022 still continues to go the way 2021 did, then there should be some appreciation there.
Sure.
So
So yeah, so
yeah.
the first two things that come to mind, this I'm sure that you've probably thought about this too. Um,
Mhm.
are you in an HOA currently or no?
Yeah, yeah.
So how did they how are they with parking? Like, are they, do they allow for overnight curbside parking like frequently? Like,
Yeah.
what are your, they so 100% that you're allowed to park on the curb?
So actually, that's a great question. Honestly, I have, funny enough, having worked in HOAs before, you
Mhm.
would have thought that I would have read the documents, but no, I didn't. But I assume so, just because all my neighbors do it. And so I'm
Okay.
like, okay, well, everyone's been doing it since we've got here. And like whenever we walk Promo, our dog, basically we go through the neighborhood, we see like a bunch of people just parked on the curbs and stuff like that every here and
Mhm.
there. So, and we've never seen anyone get a ticket, so we kind of just assumed, all right, if you can't beat them, join them. So,
Fair.
and no one can say anything because we haven't parked on the curb for the last 6 months. And it's like, hey guys, we need it now, so you're gonna have to move your car.
Interesting. Interesting. Yeah, because I know
Yeah.
in my HOA that definitely would not fly from a parking perspective
Yeah.
because we get literally every week, almost every week, we get notes on our cars like, don't park here, don't park here. It's annoying.
Oh, really?
Anyway,
Yeah.
the second thing that I was going to ask too was, given that you are going to be traveling internationally, what is your plan for having the property actually managed for you? Or who's going to be overseeing that and making sure that the systems are flowing appropriately?
Yeah. Oh, so this is cool. So since I worked in property management, I have some property management experience. So I'm probably going to be managing it, but we're putting systems in place to fully automate everything. So first things first is we are buying 3 cameras and we're having our boy, Christian, we're having him install them. So
Yep.
basically we're gonna get one camera over the RV parking space, one camera in the garage, and then one camera on the other side of the house. And this is for specific reasons. The cameras in the RV place and in the garage are just because when you're renting out all these spaces, right, to different people, like we're renting the room to tenants and then the space to space renters, whatever.
Mhm.
Um, like you don't want there to be like, hey, your tenant stole my stuff, or the tenant be like, hey, that guy came in the house and took my stuff. So just as a precautionary measure, we're installing cameras. Also, when backing that RV into the spot, it'd be very easy to just nick something. And, we want to have proof just in case anything like that ever happens. Also, it's good security if anyone tries to break in.
Mhm.
So that'll be a cool thing is that wherever we are in the world, we'll be able to remotely access all those cameras and just see what's going on with the house on the outside, at least in case we need it. On the inside, we'll have one camera that will basically just cover the front door and the stairwell. And so this is really cool because basically, since the house is like 3 stories, you have to go through that stairwell to get anywhere. And basically, you can just like see like who's in the house at what time, whatever. So if anyone comes in like that's not supposed to and something goes missing, we'll have that on camera. And also, it's like one of those places where it's like such a common area that it should be like completely fine. And then on top of that, we're installing this funny enough, it just came in, is like this remote smart lock onto the front door. And the cool thing about this is instead of giving everyone a key, we can just have them sign in with their fingerprint. And then once they sign in with their fingerprint, we just label their name. So like, oh, this is Claire's fingerprint, right? So then we have access of like, okay, we have 5 people, their fingerprints are logged, and then that fingerprint is connected to their name. So should anything ever happen and they have to leave halfway through, we can just remove their fingerprint from the smart lock, like
Interesting.
from Italy. We were in Italy, and then yeah, that'll be good. In terms of having people on the ground, funny enough, I've talked to Anna. So she said that she might be willing to do some cleaning and take out the trash, because that's one of the things that we had to figure out is like, oh, who's gonna take out the trash? So yeah, Anna might help with the cleaning and the taking out the trash, maybe getting the mail, and if ever we need her to like open a gate or something, throw her some extra bucks. So
Mhm.
so that'll be the other half of it. But
And
everything should be able to be managed fully remote.
and so for the listeners, Anna's actually a tenant of mine. Interesting. I
Yeah.
didn't even know that was that was going on. Um,
Yeah.
so would Anna be then the property manager as well, or would there be somebody living in the property that would actually manage it as well in terms of like the contracts
Oh,
and or are you just going to be doing that fully remote?
oh, fully remote. So Anna will really just be she'll just be like there to like maybe clean every now and then, but really just do like errands like getting the mail. Cause I don't know if I trust like giving one of the tenants a mail key and if they lose it, or if like it goes missing and then really they just pocket a copy. Like I don't know. I don't want to go through all that, especially replacing mail locks. Oh my gosh, it's such a process. I've had to do it. Takes like weeks, maybe even a month to replace that. So I would just have someone that we trust, like Anna, but hey, come through, just take the trash out, get the mail, something like that. So she would still be living at your house, but she would just drive over because we're almost like neighbors. Like she lives like
10
10
minutes
minutes.
or so. Yeah. Interesting.
So I'm like, once a week thing, like, hey, get the mail, please.
So
Yeah.
if you're doing wait, so how long are how long is the length of these contracts going to be for the people that live here? Are they going to be 6 months or are they going to be 12 months?
I'm gonna aim for a year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, my only
So
my only thought was like if you were renting out to an individual that was on a 6 month contract, how would you
oh yeah,
like
yeah.
how would you
100%.
replace that person if you aren't able to
Yeah.
physically meet them, and how would you feel comfortable with that? Like that was just my initial thought as well.
Oh yeah. So how we would do that, actually, I thought about this, is if it was 6 months, what we would do is basically like, since I worked at a property management company, they kind of did something similar where how they would do it is they basically just leave a lockbox on the property. And if anyone wanted to see it, they'd be like, hey, pull up, here's the lockbox code, da 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 da. And then basically the person goes in there, comes out, and then they just double check like at a later date to make sure the keys are still in there. So how I would do it is basically like, hey, pull up to the house, and then they pull up, swipe up on my phone, unlocks the door. They come in. We have security cameras anyways. So if any funny business happens, they can go up and we'll be like, all right, go up the stairs. It's this room. Feel free to walk in, check it out, all that jazz. And on top of that, too, we have a really good handyman named Christian. So should one tenant leave, and maybe just talk to Anna, like, hey, just look in the room. Does it look damaged or anything? And if it does, like, hey, Christian, pull up. Here's a temporary access code. Christian types in temporary access code, gets access to the house, goes into the room, fixes everything, dips. Yep.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, again, leave it to Chris to come up with something so out of pocket, so crazy unconventional. Um,
Yeah.
let me think here. So okay, so you're really shooting for 12 months, but if you do have a 6 month contract, then you'll have people that will essentially be going into the property without you, but but you've already
But
spoken to them to like in a limited capacity, right? Like you already like spoke to them via Roomies or Zumper or whatever the places I told you to list the property on. So you'll have like a basic understanding of who they are. It's just a matter of letting them see the property after that.
yeah, exactly. So, and of course, we'll do like eventually, like before they move in, like the stuff you told me about, like background check, credit check.
Sure.
And before that, we'll probably even do like a little FaceTime, something like that. Just talk to them, like, hey,
Make sure
how's
they're
your
not a murderer or a creep or a rapist or anything along those lines.
yeah. Yeah. Oh, dude, funny story. Like, we recently talked to this girl, and she wanted to like, we're talking about moving in. She was looking for a spot. We're like, hey, we have a spot. Like, come check it out. And like, we were asking her, so like, what do you do for work? And she works at a travel agency, and her other job is she works for a showgirls. So those girls on the strip that take pictures.
Oh my god.
So I was like, so or I think Paul talked to her. So he's like, what's your rent budget? She's like, yeah, maybe like 1,000 a month. And so I was like, okay, well, like how much are you making? He's like 2,000 a month. And we're like, no, we're like, no way. And then we're like, so what's your credit score? She's like, I don't have a credit score. I was like, red
Yeah,
flag.
that's
So
rough.
that's yeah. I was like, no credit score. Oh heck no.
No, she's gonna start an OnlyFans in your room, bro. I
Yeah,
don't think you want
dang near.
that on your roof.
Yeah.
What was I gonna say? So, do you plan on having this place fully rented out before you leave, or what are your thoughts
Yeah.
there? Okay, so it's gonna be 100
Uh,
the RV, all the spaces, all the rooms, but before you leave at the end of January, it's gonna be place gonna be fully rented out.
100%. I think the only exception is mine and Paulo's room. I think with mine and Paulo's room, we'll get like uh some confirmation from someone, and then maybe even get a backup just in case, and be like, hey, your move-in date will be like the day before we leave. And the reason for that too is kind of like I want them to start moving stuff in so that like I see that they don't like mess anything up. Because we kind of balled out a little bit on the property.
Right.
But have them move stuff in. Maybe we just chill at a hotel or something for the last night or something, and help them move in, or even just sleep on the couch in the living room. I honestly don't care. I've slept on the floor before. I'll do it again.
Dude,
You know?
hashtag Seagull Suites. Am I right?
Yeah, that's right. Claim it
Represent.
home.
Cool, man. Well,
Yeah.
that's all nuts. I mean, I'm really hoping that all goes well for you. I'm 10 minutes away, so if you ever needed me to maybe stop by
Yeah.
and check things out. I got you there. Um,
Yeah.
so it sounds like you've got it financially mapped out. Now tell me about the actual places that you plan on visiting, kind of what your thoughts were, like why leave Las Vegas and go international for an entire year? Just tell me more about the thought process there and then what went into that.
100%. So basically, okay, this is and we'll get to the part where like why I thought like this house was probably the best thing we did in 2021.
Mhm,
So basically, financially, and I'm fully transparent. So basically, like this house is about 2,200. The
mhm,
business costs about like to run like about 2,000 a month. And so basically every month, between me and Paulo, burning about like 2,000 and some change each, right? That's not considering like how much we spend on food, how
sure,
much we spend on like health insurance, all that stuff, but like pretty much like 2,000 a month. If we move remotely, this is where it kind of gets super crazy. Is like if we move remotely, so like living in this house, we spend 2,200 a month plus utilities. If we leave this house, it turns from a liability into an asset and starts producing positive cash flow.
sure.
So let's say like we move out of this house, we're getting $2,000 in positive cash flow. That would be basically enough to cover the business for a while and basically have that be at net zero. And then our only expenses would be housing, which is so much cheaper. So the first leg of the journey will take place in Amalfi Coast in Italy.
Mhm,
One of the reasons we did it there was we were looking at other locations, but for some reason, Italy during February is really cheap. Like it was $1,800.
yeah,
So we only have to pay for that, split it. So our net like cost for like living would be like 900 each, and then like food and health insurance and stuff
yeah.
like that.
It's off season,
So
so things are cheaper for
yeah,
sure.
and it's so much cheaper. And after that we're going to go to Thailand for 2 months, and this is where it gets really cheap. Thailand is like six to 800 a month for like a really nice 2 bedroom in this high rise building. The building has this massive pool on like the 30th floor that overlooks the city, and it's like an infinity pool. And
Mhm,
then it has like a gym, it has like common spaces for like working, fast Wi-Fi, all that stuff. For what it would cost to rent out this unutilized RV space in our garage, that would be our monthly living expenses.
right.
I mean,
Sick.
and yeah, so that'll be really, really cool. And then after Thailand, we're going to Bali,
Mhm,
and Bali is really cool too. I think that spot's costing us like 1,800 or something like that. And
mhm,
then the other after Bali, and all these spots are like so sick. Like the Bali spot is like it's like a maybe 2 3 story house, and then like there's 2 bedrooms. It's got a full garden, and it's literally like 5 minute walk to the beach. Like it's basically on the beach. So you just walk to the beach, work out, do some sprints, go back to the laptop, battle it out, laptop lifestyle.
cool. So
Yeah.
Amalfi, Thailand, Bali, and then what?
And then Bali, and then Malaysia, which is interesting because we were gonna try to go to Singapore because it's near Bali, but Singapore is like 2 to 4 thousand, which is like kind of a lot of money
Yeah,
considering
it's
like
expensive.
Thailand.
Mhm.
100. So we're like, okay, well, I guess no to Singapore, and then we realize, wait, Malaysia is right next to Singapore. In fact, you can take a bus from Malaysia. It'd be like 30 minutes or like maybe even an hour to get to Singapore.
There you
So we're
go.
like, okay, we'll just stay in Malaysia on the edge. And dude, Malaysia is as cheap as Thailand, which
Yeah.
is insane.
Mhm.
So literally there's 2 bedrooms around $600 to $800. The spot we got was a little bit pricier because it's a vibe. Like again, it looks like a hotel resort, high like a pool on the 30th floor, infinity. And then I'm gonna post a lot about this on my story, so you'll see. But it's such
Oh,
a
please,
vibe.
yes, please do. Send me
Yeah,
pictures for sure.
yeah. And then the coolest part though is like I didn't want to be like stressed, so basically we pre-booked almost all the flights for the first half of the trip, and
Mhm.
then we also pre-booked the Airbnbs and then paid for all that cash.
Cool.
And basically this will only backfire if the
COVID.
illness
Yeah.
comes, and it may backfire, but other than that, you know house will be cash flowing, business will be at basically, honestly, the business would probably be profitable considering like adding the cash, like the house's positive cash flow and then the revenue from the business. So we'd
Right.
actually have, be positive. And considering housing's paid out for like, what's that, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 months, 5 out of the 11 months,
Mhm.
no worries in the world, sitting in Amalfi, Italy, looking at my laptop, sipping a
Dylan.
glass of wine. And dude, the view in Amalfi is insane. Like literally from the bedroom, you look out the window, it's the ocean. So I
Hmm.
was like, $1,800
Gotta
Amalfi,
do it.
Italy, $2,200 my house in Vegas, Amalfi, Italy.
Yeah. No, awesome. That sounds amazing, dude. So Amalfi, you said it was going to be February. What are the timelines for each month? Like where are you going to be, and what comes after Malaysia as well?
Yeah, so Amalfi is gonna be 1 month, and then after that, 2 months will be spent in Bangkok, Thailand, but one Airbnb per month, just because we wanted to see a different. Like, there's so many cool looking Airbnbs.
Hmm.
Wanted to try a couple, so we got that. So then
Cool.
after Thailand, we're gonna spend like a month and a week in Bali, and then after that, we have about a month or two in Malaysia. So we kind of only booked out 5 months because we were like, you know what, if the business is doing well, maybe we don't have to like stay in Asian countries. And also, we don't really know because we were considering going to like because our budget's like we don't want to spend more than we spent on this house because then it kind of defeats the purpose.
Sure. Hmm.
Also, you have to account for like airfare, but we don't really have airfare because we use the points. But
Hmm.
south of France is looking really nice in the summer, and also Italy, right? You're going in Italy, so maybe we'll see you there. Like, are you
Awesome.
going to what part of Italy are you going? Is it
Yeah,
Rome?
I'm flying in on the third to Milan, and then
Milan?
Milan we're just gonna be there for a couple days. Hit up Venice from there, Venice,
Yeah,
Florence, Florence, Rome, and then Rome, Naples, and then we're going to Greece as well after that. But yeah, if you're
exciting.
in the area during that time, happy to happy to coordinate something out there for sure.
Definitely, definitely. It'll be cool, bro. I want to see from your stories what Venice looks like. After living in LA, all I know is Venice Beach, and it's a straight up dumpster.
Well, I'm hoping because I've heard mixed reviews about Venice. Like on the one hand, if you're in Italy, you got to go to Venice, right? It's just one of those places that you have to check out. It's kind of like going to Rome. Like you have to go to Rome. Um,
Yep.
I mean, the city's literally sinking, so that's a problem.
Oh,
Like, yeah, it's literally sinking. I've done some research on it, and it's yeah, the water's overtaking the city. It's a very
is
unique
that
spot because of that. Huh?
is that is that related to like the ice caps melting, or is that just like
Maybe.
this is going down?
I honestly don't know what the cause is. I would imagine environmental impact has something to do with it. And
Yeah.
it's just that combined with the fact that there's just so many tourists. Like I think it was like 33 million tourists go to Venice every year, something along those lines.
Damn.
It's crazy. So yeah, mixed baggage. I'm gonna for sure check it out anyway. Hopefully, we're able to see it before it's not there anymore. Um,
Hey,
but
that's cool though. If you see it before, take a bunch of pictures,
yeah,
and it's kind of like they say like take your kids to the zoo before these animals go extinct. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, it's
Something.
unfortunate that that's the case, but yeah, that's kind of what it's looking like. Um, but cool. You also mentioned too, and I think this is going to be going back more to the finance and you mentioned about
Yeah,
points and airfare. Walk me through your strategy for that and getting some of your flights for free or significantly discounted.
yeah. So the strategy was spend on credit cards, not on flights. So that was the strategy. So
Mhm.
basically, I got the Amex Platinum, the Amex Gold card, and then you FOMO'd me into getting it, but I'm actually really glad I got it. The Capital One Venture X, which like high key super like I'm super glad I actually got that because like obviously we have 5 Airbnbs booked out for 5 months, but like after that we're gonna start booking Airbnbs out. $200 credit, like that's half the annual fee. So
Yeah,
basically with the Amex card, it's really cool because the sign up bonus I got was 125,000 points, which that is basically equivalent to at least $1,250 in
right.
flights.
1-to-1 conversion.
Uh,
Hmm.
yeah, at 1-to-1 conversion. Or if you use it properly, the points are actually worth a little bit more. So anywhere from like maybe like $1,500 to $2,000 worth of flights.
Yeah,
And then on top of
what partners did you, sorry for interrupting, but what partners did you transfer it over to make that work that way?
I used Delta, which was valued at 1.5 cents per point when I redeemed it.
One and a
And
half.
then
Mhm.
yeah, 1.5 cents. And then I used this one called Finnair. I don't know if that's how you say it. But use Finnair, I think it was around like same 1.5 points,
Okay.
1.5 cents per flight. So basically, and then this is the thing too, like Amex has this offer where it's like 10x points on basically any local restaurants that are not like big chains. And so whenever we eat out, I get like a bunch of points. And then I learned this other hack, which is if you do any online shopping of stuff that you're gonna buy anyways, go through Rakuten. And on Rakuten, like I have been killing the game with points and racking up a bunch of points, buying stuff that I had to buy anyways.
Mhm.
And on top of that, there's a bunch of other bonuses I got. Like I added my mom as a gold card user.
Okay.
And so basically that will get you an extra 20,000. So overall with Amex, I probably put up like because it says how many points you've gathered for like since you got the card till now. And I think it says like now I have like I've accumulated 270,000 points or something like that. So that's like
That's
almost
a lot of points.
three
That's
thousand
a lot of
dollars
points.
worth of cards or more, like if you just redeem it properly.
Uh-huh.
So, again, like what I said, it was like around like $4,000. No, it was like $5,000 worth of flights. And so this is where then the whatchamacallit comes in. That's where the Venture X comes in because there's the 100K sign up bonus on top of that. I've been
Mhm.
spending on it, so racking up other points. So that 100K should be at least worth like 1,000. And I think if you redeem it through the transfer partners, even a little bit more. So maybe
Yeah.
1250.
Mhm.
So assuming I rack up more Amex points and I get those Venture X points, everything should basically be covered for free. And this is one of the things that we realized. So I didn't really pay attention in geography class, but I realized that, or me and Paulo realized, you can just take trains to these places. You can take
Sure.
buses.
Yeah.
You can do all that stuff because, like, for the most part, like a lot of them are connected. So
Mhm.
we're thinking, like, instead of taking a flight, like, why don't we just take a train? It's number one. In a lot of cases, it can be cheaper,
Right.
or you can even take a boat to some places. And on top of that, you can see like a lot more than you would on an airplane.
Sure.
So on top of that,
Especially
so like,
especially in Europe. I mean, in Europe, you can get one of those like Euro rail passes and stuff, and like
yeah,
just be you can literally travel all of Europe. I think it's like a one-time fee, and if you're going to be there for an extended period of time, it might make sense for you.
100%. And it's like it can be cheaper and it's cooler, like I just want to sit on a train, maybe going through France and just looking over, and then for some reason I just start journaling. You know,
So
like you see,
basic.
yeah, it's like, wow, what has my life come to? So that'd
Hey
be
man,
really cool.
that's a pretty cool life if you ask me though.
Yeah. Oh, and one of the things that we were considering is like on Airbnb, you can rent out a castle. So
Rent out a
there's actually,
castle.
yeah, you can rent out. I don't think it's an entire castle, but like you can rent out like a portion of a castle
Okay.
for only $1,800. So we were thinking like, oh, instead of getting a normal Airbnb, why not rent out a spot in a castle just to experience it? So
Where at?
after, dude, there was one that we were looking at that was so it's in the United Kingdom, and I honestly never knew what the United Kingdom was until recently. Because like I knew it was somewhere over there, but so basically this was I think it was in Wales.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a castle there. There's a castle in Italy. Uh, there's actually castles all over the world that you can actually rent spot out. One of the coolest ones was this thing called, I think it was like Saint Thomas, and it's basically like this It's like the Disney castle.
Like yeah. Uh-huh.
The
Yeah.
Disney castle, how like it's in the middle of the water, kind of ish.
Uh-huh. Right.
It looks like the Disney castle. It's like this castle on a hill in the
Mm.
middle of the water. When like the tide goes out, you can actually walk to it, and when the tide comes in, it's literally in the middle of the water. And so we even looked at trying to stay there. It's kind of expensive though, honestly, and also it's really in the middle of like nowhere. So
Why not?
yeah, but, as long as they have Wi-Fi, yeah.
I would hope the castle has Wi-Fi.
And then I just wanted to just go to someone and be like, "Milady, how are you this day?"
Chris, you'd be the type of guy that would buy land in like Scotland just so that you could be a lord.
Yeah, I would actually. That's on my bucket list. Actually,
Called it.
that's on my bucket list. Castles. I looked up how much it is. 700,000. So like a house in California, you could get a castle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
So
what we're valuing our houses in the Bay Area are.
it's like a whole, and it's a massive castle. Like you could get castles in Italy around like 700 to a million. So
The fact that you
just
even are looking this up is just hilarious to me.
yeah,
Just casually buy a
yeah.
castle.
Yeah. And if I ever buy a castle, which it's on my bucket list, so one day I buy a castle, you best believe I'm gonna dig a moat around my castle, hashtag Warren Buffett competitive moat, but like a real moat, and then fill it with water, and then like have the the bridge that extends down,
Right.
and then
The
inside
drawbridge.
Range Rover. So
What else is on your bucket list? If owning land in Scotland and being the Lord and owning a castle on your bucket list, I need to know more.
on the bucket list, we also have of course $1 million for sure. Eventually 10 million for sure. But what else is on the bucket list? Skydiving. I
Um,
recently read Dan Bilzerian's book, so on my bucket list is to just for 1 year become a full degenerate, rent out a fat crib, maybe even buy a fat crib. But actually, no, I wouldn't want to do it at my own house because it would kind of get trashed. But then be degenerate, rent out a nice like bachelor pad, be single for a year, and throw some ragers. I am talking some like Great Gatsby. This makes no financial sense. I'm probably breaking even for the year, but like ridiculous ragers. But that would only be once like I have more than enough money to retire for the rest of my life, and spending aggressively wouldn't hurt too much. It would just be not wise. So
this is the
and
part. This is the part where I tell the listeners, don't take Chris's advice here. This is the part where I say, listen at your own risk.
100%. Oh, and then this is I always tell everybody this, but it's for sure happening. We're renting out yachts and we're partying in villas. That is for sure guaranteed. Renting out yachts, believe it or not, is not that expensive. So like to rent out a yacht for a day, maybe like $700-800 for a day. It depends though. It depends where. Like if you're going in like some bougie area, it's like in the thousands. But you rent out a yacht for a week, like 5 grand. But then like it's a big yacht. You fit a bunch of people on there, throw a party, like set sail, like, oh, we're going to Italy to I don't know, Spain. I don't know if you can do that, but with like a
just
small, like not a super big yacht, but
just
just run it up.
turn it into a YouTube channel and essentially try and get some ad revenue out of there, and you'll just spread it off.
100%. And also need to make up for all the weekends I've worked this far. Because oh man.
Yeah, you're out here in Las Vegas, and I don't think you've gone out to a club in like 4 months.
I don't think I have either. I think
Since
the club was,
since our
the fat.
degenerate days in June and within the months of June and July, I think that those are the months that we were probably going out the most.
Oh, 100. Yeah, we actually did go out a lot. That was actually pretty fun. And oh, New Year's, that's for sure. That'll be a wild one.
I'm gonna shameless plug myself, but I'm actually starting a YouTube channel with my girlfriend, and we're doing kind of like a travel channel, but also having some finance topics in it as well, in terms of like how to make everything possible financially. And I'm
Yeah.
hoping that we can put some of the reviews of the Aria, because we're going to see Lil Jon on that.
Oh yeah.
So should definitely be an interesting experience, and maybe we'll make an effort to do some recording during that weekend as well.
Actually looking forward to those videos because your videos are really informative. And
Thank you.
even your housing video, I think I watched it recently after I think we had the conversation, but it was very informative. And I feel like my approach is just like, I'm just going to send it and I don't know what's going to happen. But I look a lot at your approach and I'm like, that makes so much sense. Even with writing it out, like I was like, that saved me so much time. So I think it would be really useful.
Thank you, man. No, I think it's good to have a kind of a balanced approach. Like I think that some things should definitely be planned and strategized on. Some things more go with the flow, but ultimately having an ultimate goal in your back pocket. Like just, it sounds like you and Paulo are pretty aligned here. If he's willing to pick up his shit and go on a European tour, an Asian tour as well, with
Yeah.
you, that's all sounds really good and well, man.
100%. Wait, what are your goals for 2022?
Yeah, something similar to. Well, actually, I have them up on my wall right now. I
Yeah.
was going to be making a video next week, actually, that pertains to that. So I'm going to touch a little bit more on that. But I'm going to talk about the different pillars. So I have like a career pillar, I have a personal pillar, emotional, and a family pillar as well. Because those are for me like the 4 facets of my life that I think are most important. So tune into that one. I'll definitely let you know when I drop that as well.
Heck yeah, you gotta let me know. I want to see it.
I will probably next week. But anything else though that you want to leave the listeners with pertaining to some of their goals and career aspirations? Any advice that you would give them?
I'd say I think the most profound thing that I realized was super helpful, I think, and will probably continue to help is just buy assets, not liabilities. I was a degenerate this year. I spent a lot of money on a lot of dumb things. I don't know if I ever told you I bought this pen. It was like $300. But
What was it
like
that you bought?
I bought like a $300 pen.
Oh, all right. You got to sign all your important documents with it.
Yeah, and I actually use it to journal sometimes, but I spent a lot of money on like stupid shit. But the number one thing that I never regret was like buying this house and stocks. So yeah, because it's really crazy to think like with this house, like technically, even worst case scenario, I could always just rent this house out, seek refuge in like a different country and never run out of money. I think that's the most profound thing especially like if I live in Thailand, dude, I'll never run out of money with this,
Sure.
with like a house cash flowing like this. And whatever I have in stocks, like technically, like I was looking at it, I was like, I'll be able to live comfortably and like never ever run out of money. So I think that's super, super, unless this house catches on fire, in which case that would be tragic. And then maybe we would run out.
You've got. I would hope that you've got some insurances in place to handle that. Did you end up using the one that I provided or that I sent you? I don't even remember what it was.
Oh, I think it was Hippo
Hippo.
or
Yeah. You use
yeah, I
that?
think so. Yeah. They were actually for such a weird name, they were actually really high tech and I liked it. Like
Yeah.
their approach to it. So I actually did use them. They're really good and they're the cheapest, I think.
That's why I did it. Yeah. Cheap
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
user friendly. Yeah.
Yeah, and the coverage is I think as good if not better than some of the competitors. I think I checked out Lemonade.
Right.
And Lemonade was way more expensive and the coverage was like not even as good, at least for what I was looking at.
Yeah.
So I would leave everyone off with buy assets, not liabilities. Once you buy some assets, you can treat yourself to a couple liabilities. But overall, stay the course. That's it.
Love to hear it. No, thank you so
Sure.
much for joining, Chris. I think that we're probably going to do this again in the next
Yeah.
12 months. I think that I'm liking this yearly cadence of updating goals and getting a feel for
Yeah.
where we were in the previous year. Obviously, a lot has changed since the end of 2020. I think that we've been able to hit a lot of the goals that we've set for ourselves. So that's great to hear, and I'm glad that you're thriving. Hopefully, I'll be able to meet you out in
Yeah.
Europe in June.
100%. And I think it's really cool just to see the journey from sub 50,000 to slowly getting to closer to 1 million every year. So 2022 will be hopefully execute properly and everything goes well, a lot closer to 1 mil. So
There you
we'll
go.
see.
Well, the race is still on, my friend. The race is still on. But like I said, appreciate you joining, and I'll see you soon.
See you soon and appreciate you having me.
Anytime, brother. All right, then.